Desert Justice. The sound of her cane echoed softly tap, tap, tap against the cracked sidewalk of our Arizona suburb. My daughter, Emily, only 5 and blind since birth, moved with a courage that outshone any soldier I'd ever known. That morning, she insisted on walking to the mailbox alone, her small victory after weeks of practice. I trailed 5 steps behind, close enough to catch her, far enough to let her feel free. The desert sun climbed over the horizon, painting long shadows from the saguaros that lined our quiet street. It should have been serene. Then came the voice. "Get that blind kid off my road." Margaret Hensley, our HOA president, stormed out of her faux adobe mansion, her silk robe flapping like a vulture's wings. Her words were venom, her face twisted with disgust. Emily froze, her tiny hand tightening around her cane, her lip trembling. "I'm just going to the mailbox with Daddy," she whispered. "I don't care," Margaret snapped. "Your kind doesn't belong here. You're dragging down our property values, stumbling around like a stray dog." I stepped forward, my jaw so tight I could taste blood. "Don't talk to my daughter like that," I growled. Margaret turned her sneer on me. "Oh, the war hero. Why don't you crawl back to whatever dusty battlefield you came from and take your broken kid with you?" Emily's voice broke through, small and shaking. "Daddy, am I wrong?" My heart cracked. I knelt beside her. "No, sweetheart. You're perfect. You're my whole world." Margaret laughed, a sound like shattered glass. "Perfect? She can't even see you groveling. She's a burden, and you're too blind to admit it." I stood, fists clenched, but before I could act, Margaret leaned in close. "One day, someone's going to teach her where she belongs." She sauntered back to her porch, leaving a cold weight in my chest. I didn't know it then, but Emily would vanish within a day, and Margaret would learn what happens when you target a soldier's child. The next morning, the air was sharp, the desert holding its breath. Emily hummed in the living room, tapping her cane to the rhythm of wind chimes. Her pink sneakers were laced up, ready for her mailbox ritual. I was in the kitchen, coffee in hand, Margaret's words still festering in my mind. A loud crash came from the front yard. My mug hit the floor, shattering. "Emily!" No answer. I bolted to the door. Her cane lay in the dirt, snapped like a twig. Then I heard tires screeching on gravel. Margaret's black SUV sped down the street, and in the rear window, Emily's tiny hands pounded against the glass. "Daddy!" I ran, barefoot, across scorching pavement, screaming, "Stop!" The SUV didn't slow. It swerved toward the desert trail beyond our community's fence. I knew that trail I'd trained there. My vision tunneled. I sprinted home, grabbed my sidearm and GPS tracker, and hit the panic beacon my old team would recognize. The security footage confirmed it. Margaret, in a floral blouse, had snatched Emily from our driveway, shoved her into the SUV, and driven off like it was nothing. Rage blurred my sight. She took my daughter, my blind little girl. I strapped on my gear, locked the door, and muttered, "You didn't just take a child, Margaret. You started a war." My truck tore down the dirt trail, dust choking the air. The GPS I'd planted on Margaret's SUV cowlet paranoia blinked on my dashboard. She was headed to an abandoned construction site, a plateau of half-built homes left to rot after zoning fights. No witnesses, no rules. My knuckles whitened on the wheel. 20 minutes out, the tracker ping-edged stopped. I skidded to a halt, leapt out, and ran through brittle brush, the sun burning my back. Then I saw them. Margaret stood by her SUV, gripping Emily's wrist. My daughter's knees were bloody, her face streaked with tears. Margaret was tying a rope to Emily's arm, the other end knotted to the SUV's bumper. I froze, my blood turning to ice. She was going to drag her. "Let her go," I warned. Margaret didn't flinch. She smirked. "Oh, the war daddy's here. This is what happens when defects wander where they don't belong." She reached for the driver's door. Instinct took over. I drew my tactical knife and threw it thunk. It pierced her rear tire, air hissing out. She spun toward the sound. I charged. Before she could untie the rope, I slammed her against the SUV. "You think this is about property values?" I snarled. "You just declared war on the only thing I'd kill for." Margaret spat. "You're insane." I shoved her to the ground and untied Emily, my hands shaking. "Daddy," she whimpered. "I'm here, baby," I whispered. "You're safe." But I wasn't done. The desert shook as helicopter rotors thundered overhead. 3 Blackhawks ripped through the sky, dust exploding as the lead chopper landed. The others circled. Margaret shielded her face. "What is this?" I stared into her eyes. "This is backup." Sergeant Daniels, a grizzled giant, stepped out, followed by 6 armed operators. He scanned the scene. Emily's blood, the rope, the SUV. "You called, Captain?" I nodded. "Right on time." Emily clung to me, her breathing shallow. "These are Daddy's friends," I told her. Margaret tried to bolt, but Daniels fired a foam net, pinning her to the sand. She screamed, "I'm the HOA president. This is unlawful." An operator glanced at me. "Orders, sir?" I pointed to the rope. "Document it. Tag the vehicle. Bring her in." Margaret thrashed, spitting. "She's the criminal. That blind freak." I stepped closer, my voice low. "You'll remember this desert. Every second in a cell will feel like mercy compared to what I felt watching you hurt my daughter." The team cuffed her, and silence fell, broken only by her curses. I grabbed the rope she'd used on Emily, its fibers stained with blood. "Stand her up," I ordered. They lifted her. She sneered. "You'll lose everything, Captain. You're not above the law." "No," I said, looping the rope around her waist. "Today, I am the law." I yanked her forward, dragging her through jagged brush and cactus. She screamed as spines tore her skin, her blouse shredding. Vultures circled above. At a ravine lined with cholla cactus, I shoved her to her knees. "This is insane," she cried. "She brought this on herself." I grabbed her neck, pulling her through the cactus. She wailed, thorns piercing her flesh. "My daughter walks blind in a world that doesn't care," I shouted. "She's 5, and you tried to erase her." I pinned her among the cactus, her body convulsing. "You wanted to mark my child?" I said. "Now the desert marks you." Her sobs echoed as I walked away. But it wasn't enough. She dragged Emily like trash. "Get her up," I told Daniels. He raised an eyebrow. "You sure? She's not done." They hauled her to her feet, her skin punctured, hair matted with thorns. I drove my shovel into the sand, digging a waist-deep hole. "Put her in," I said. Margaret shrieked, "You can't bury me alive." Daniel spoke calmly. "We're not killing you. He's not that kind." "I'm the kind," I cut in, "who makes monsters remember." They lowered her in, her legs kicking. I shoveled sand, burying her to her chest. Each scoop was deliberate, her rage fading under the weight. "This is how Emily felt," I said. "Trapped. Alone." Margaret rasped, "You're insane." I knelt, forcing her to face Emily's broken cane, planted in the sand. "That's what you tried to break," I said. You smiled while she bled. Her eyes closed, her spirit crumbling. Daniels whispered, "Medevacs 15 out." I nodded. "Keep her conscious." Emily, bandaged and wrapped in a blanket, sat by the command vehicle. I knelt beside her. "Daddy," she whispered, "did I do something wrong?" My throat burned. "No, sweetheart. You're perfect. That woman's broken, not you." She leaned into me, her small body trembling. The chopper arrived, medics rushing to Emily and Margaret. As they strapped Margaret to a stretcher, she rasped, "You'll regret this." I leaned in. "I regret not stopping you sooner." 2 weeks later, the courtroom was a tomb of silence. Margaret sat, bandaged and peeling, her eyes defiant. I stood in my dress uniform, facing Judge Reynolds. "Your Honor," I said, "this isn't about rules or property. It's about a woman who saw my blind daughter as trash to erase." She tied Emily to a vehicle, dragged her, and laughed when she cried. The room gasped. No child should question their worth because of who they are. I turned to Margaret. "You tried to erase her, but you only erased your lies." Judge Reynolds spoke. "Mrs. Hensley, you tortured a child and showed no remorse. In 40 years, I've never seen such cruelty." She sentenced Margaret to life without parole. The gavel fell, and Margaret slumped, defeated. Outside, a crowd held signs, "Justice for Emily." My daughter stood among them, her bandaged knee a badge of survival. 3 months later, Congress passed Emily's law, making violence against disabled children a federal hate crime. Emily, now 6, didn't grasp its scope, but she stood taller, her new silver cane gleaming. The neighborhood changed. Margaret's house was sold, its fences gone. The new HOA president, a retired nurse, installed accessible sidewalks and an inclusive playground. 10 years later, Emily spoke at a park ceremony, her guide dog at her side. "When I was 5, someone hurt me because I was different," she said. But I wasn't small. I was blind, not broken. I forgave her, not because she deserved it, but because I wanted love, not hate, in my heart. The crowd roared. I stood in the back, tears falling. Daniels nudged me. She's better than you. I smiled. She's better than us all. That night, Emily traced the sidewalk's grooves. They don't whisper about me anymore, she said. And if they do? I asked. She grinned. I'll tell them my name's Emily, not Freak. Justice isn't always a gavel. Sometimes it's a father's fists, clenched not to strike, but to shield. Margaret thought the differences were disposable. She learned love is fire when cornered, justice when betrayed. What do you think? Have you seen someone judged for being different? Was Margaret's punishment fair, or did I go too far? Share your thoughts below. Let's talk about violence, injustice, and where we draw the line. Your voice matters.